Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 55. I'm Enigmius, and today it's Blueprint Day. We're releasing the blueprint for the Spectre Omni. It's basically done. We're going to take a look at the specific features on the ship. The blueprint link will be in the information box below the video, and included with the blueprint description on the Steam Workshop page is another rundown of the basic features on the ship so that you can kind of keep an eye on what you're expecting versus what the ship has. Once you've got the ship, if you want to customize it, change it, make it look different, make it perform different, that's entirely up to you. We just want to give you a good view of what it's doing so far so that you have a place to start from. And we're going to go front to back because that's easiest. This is based on the original core design of the Spectre Platinum, so they're literally the core of the ship, the containers and the stuff like that. They didn't change between ships. We changed the exterior of the ship, we changed the thruster configuration, we changed the front of the ship with the bridge and all that other stuff, and ultimately came out with a ship that I'm much happier with in terms of being able to go to the moon. We've already taken it on one trip to the moon. We actually found asteroids on our way to the moon, which is something that we weren't expecting. Everything that I've read says that in the 3-planet start, which is what we did, asteroids are present, but only on the fringes. Like, you have to travel away from all of the planets for quite some time before you encounter them. That wasn't the case in our situation. They were actually between the Earth-like planet and the Earth-like planet's moon. So it was interesting to see something different. It would have been more interesting if one of them had been made out of pure platinum, but we weren't that lucky. So that was the only disappointing thing about the entire run. So coming down here, you can see the bridge, lots of glass. You can see the control seat from here. If we come down here, the doors are on automatic sensors, and they're set up in sort of an airlock configuration. And there's also the giant air vent here. This is currently turned off because we're in atmosphere. We don't need this to be pressurizing the bridge, but if you wanted it to be pressurized, you could do that simply by turning this on, and the doors will support maintaining that sort of airlock environment by not letting all of the oxygen go away every time you come and go from the bridge. Control seat, and that's it. Really simple, straightforward in terms of bridge design, and I'm okay with that. Lots of glass, look around, it's not bad. Batteries, we have lots of. You can see a battery here and a battery here, but if you want to see the full view of the batteries, we've got windows that let you see the full story. You can see we've got 6 batteries here, we've got 6 batteries on the other side for a total of 12 batteries. In this case, they're all full, and that's why we have the glasses, so that we can see them and we can get an idea of the state our batteries are in just at a glance from the outside of the ship. If you're flying around as I do with the third-person sort of chase camera view, that's all you need to be able to see where your batteries are at, is to just kind of scroll it around a little bit to the side. Works for me. That's why I did it. Next up is oxygen and hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is not on this ship for thrusters, obviously. It's on the ship for refilling the bottles to keep your jetpack going, and that's kind of an important thing. We've also got an oxygen generator, so if we need to, we can find some ice and process it down, get some oxygen and hydrogen out of the deal. And we've got 2 oxygen tanks. This is the first oxygen tank here. You can see it's available from the top. This is the hydrogen tank, which is accessible from the top here. It's also accessible from the side here. But then we go down underneath, and this is kind of it may not seem like it, but this is a very key, important feature. We have the hydrogen tank here, available from the underside, but we can't reach it from where we are. So if you're out of hydrogen in your tanks and you can't reach that, that could be a problem. But we have this oxygen tank here beside the second ore detector, and you can pass the tanks through this to the hydrogen tank, and we'll just demonstrate here. Passing it through the oxygen tank to the hydrogen tank, fills it up, off you go. So having that access from the ground level, so that if you run out of hydrogen while you're on the ground, you don't have to worry about whether or not you can fly up and get to any of the other access points. It's available right there. So that's kind of a key thing. And we've got a large reactor, which seems to do all right in terms of providing power for the thrusters. Now, just a word of caution, be very, very careful if you're trying to carry around heavy loads with this ship, because it's not really intended to be carrying around 4 million kilograms worth of stuff. You know, it's supposed to be giving you the flexibility to carry as much as you need, but in the back of your mind, you have to be doing the math a little bit to kind of make sure that you're going to be able to move around as you need to when you're getting from point A to point B. So the large reactor seems to do a pretty good job from what I've seen of staying on top of the power demands and also keeping the batteries charged. Just be cautious, because if you overload the cargo container, you're probably going to run into trouble and possibly not even be able to get off the ground. But one of the nice features about having it in this configuration, just like we can see the state of the batteries through the window here, is we can see the state of the reactor from this perspective here. This one with the green is saying obviously that we have uranium, and if we don't have uranium, it turns red. So we know we're out of uranium and we're running on battery power, or if you haven't done so, turn the batteries on so that you can run on battery power. We've got a refinery that's directly connected to the cargo container on board, and it's got 4 productivity modules. This is something that we learned from the original Spectre Platinum, is it's very, very handy to have even just a single fast refinery on board, so that if we do go a little bit over the weight that the ship can handle safely, we can process any ore that we have, reduce the weight that way without having to do silly things like dumping the ore on the ground and wasting it, because who wants to waste ore? You go to all the trouble of mining it, you don't want to dump it on the ground. So that's something to be mindful of as well. Just because it's on the ship doesn't mean you have to have it turned on and sucking power, but it's there if you need it, which is kind of a neat thing. And also, I found I kind of like the looks of it in this sort of location on the ship, aesthetically speaking, just purely for looks, with all the tubes and stuff and all the things going around and into the stuff. Looks kind of neat, I found. So then down here is the large cargo container. It's accessible from the side ports here. Just if you have thruster damage turned on, be careful on your way by. It could be a little bit painful if you're not. And I mean, it speaks for itself. It's the large cargo container on a large ship, so it holds a lot of stuff. You just kind of keep an eye on how much you're carrying around relative to what this ship can do. Now, in terms of thrusters, you can see we've got all kinds of small ion thrusters that are responsible for basically all of the maneuvering on the ship, whether you're in atmosphere or not. The key with this is that when you're in atmosphere, these things don't work nearly as well as when you're not in atmosphere. So in atmosphere maneuvering is a little bit sluggish. You can make changes if you want, if you know that you're going to be using the ship primarily in atmosphere, or if you just want it to be a little bit more effective in doing what it's doing. You can make changes to the thruster configuration however you see fit. It's just something to be aware of. Even in, no or low gravity atmosphere situations, it's not super. It's not a fighter ship. It's not. It's kind of like a cargo expedition ship, and it gets around and it can do what it needs to do. It's got 5 gyros, so rotating on the various different axes is pretty quick and responsive, but actually changing your heading, you want to be a little bit careful. We've got 4 large ion thrusters underneath to help with lift. These will obviously help a little bit in atmospheric conditions, but not a lot. They're most effective in the non-atmospheric conditions, obviously. That's the nature of the ion thrusters. We've also got the 4 large atmospheric thrusters for lift in atmosphere. And again, if you were thinking of using this strictly in atmospheric conditions, you could swap these guys out for atmospheric thrusters, and you would probably be able to get around and keep the ship aloft with a full cargo container, with the extra lift that would be provided with that. So that's something to keep in mind. On the rear here, you can see that in atmospheric conditions, we've got a pair of large atmospheric thrusters providing forward thrust, and then we've got 6, 7, 8 small ion thrusters providing reverse thrust. Again, outside of atmosphere, it's not bad. If I were to make one change to the ship right now, I would swap these 3 out for a large ion thruster, and same thing here. These 3 would be gone in place of a large ion thruster. The reason why I haven't done this is because I don't have enough thruster components to do it. That's the only reason why. So if that was something that you wanted to do, it'd be very, very quick and easy to do, and you would get a noticeable benefit in terms of the forward thrust. And also, between having the 2 large ion thrusters here and the 4 underneath, you could rotate the ship around the various different axes and use that extra thrust to kind of make it a little bit more maneuverable, a little bit more quick to slow down and change heading if you wanted to, if you were a little bit thoughtful about how you were changing your heading. It's something to keep in mind, but for now, it's got the 8 small ion thrusters, and I noticed on the moon and on the way back from space, they did okay. They were fine, all things considered. So that's it. That's the ship. Like I say, the blueprint is in the information box below the video. We're going to be continuing the series as planned. We've got a welding, grinding construction ship that we're going to be building in the very near future. One of the things that I've started doing is pulling apart all of the ships that we aren't going to be taking with us when we kind of navigate our way to Mars. I think that one's Mars. Or it's the alien planet and Mars is somewhere lurking in the clouds. Doesn't matter. We've also started reworking the gondola ship for the track that's going to be doing all of the drilling and crazy stuff hanging from the Atlas. We're going to be featuring those when we get to them. It's just a matter of getting all of the details taken care of, and there's a lot of little details on these ships. It's a little bit amazing how much stuff has to go on them and how long it takes to get on them. But we're getting there. We're making progress. It's kind of like a little cigar right now with wheels and arms holding on for dear life. So if you want to be notified when we get all these things done and put them in video form, you can always subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on social media. Links for social media in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.